I'd like to call the West Melbourne, Brevard County Joint Community Redevelopment Agency 5:30 meeting to order. If you'd stand for the pledge, a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Can we have roll call, please?
Chair Rose.
Here.
Vice Chair Frampus.
Here.
Board Member Adams.
Here.
Board Member Bentley.
Here.
Board Member Ditmore. Here. Board Member McDowell.
Here.
Board Member Young. Board Member Zonka. I did receive an email from Christine Zonka's office indicating that she had a conflict for the meeting.
Thank you. Can we have a motion to excuse Ms. Zonka?
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. McDowell?
I was going to second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries 7-0. Our first order of business tonight is approval of the January 17th, 2023 minutes. Ms. Adams?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the January 17th meeting.
Thank you. Ms. Young?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries 7-0 again. Item number 5 is 2021-22 Community Redevelopment Agency Annual Report.
If you could give me just 1 minute to...
I don't think that's on.
Can you hear me?
Now we can. Couldn't before.
If you can give me 1 minute to load up the presentation. Okay, this is the same thing that's in your packet, and it's the annual report. It tells the story of how the CRA accomplishes some of the master redevelopment plan strategies. Remember, that was adopted many years ago. One example would be stormwater system improvements if we had them. So that what I have as the one example is an actual copy and paste from that CRA master plan. It itemizes the expenses and revenues, all that's required by the state, documents any other activities and determinations for administering the community redevelopment area and reporting the state required accounting. The plan, identifies primary redevelopment opportunity areas and corresponding infrastructure improvements, including connectivity, stormwater, and utilities. So this is a reminder. I know the new finance director and the new city manager were not familiar with the boundaries of the CRA, but it is a joint CRA between us and Brevard County. It is along 3 of our roads, New Haven, Wickham, and Ellis. And so what you see here on the screen is, we've got the note that approximately 80% is in the city, with 20% of lands in unincorporated Brevard. So you see some of our city limits versus the county area. Okay. So as I said, one of the items we have to talk about in the annual report that gets sent to the state are the revenues and expenditures. And I wanted to remind you all of the 2018 interlocal agreement. This came up, I believe, the mayor had mentioned some of what that had changed. So the first bullet statement is that we are, City of West Melbourne has funded a non-interest bearing loan to the CRA for operational cost. And part of this was the past payment of the CRA master plan. The second bullet is to remind you all, 2018 agreement that, Morris Richardson and Scott Morgan had talked to you all about, reduce the county's annual contribution from 95% of the tax increment finance to 50% of their stuff, not of the city's contribution. And in exchange, the CRA is limited to infrastructure improvements, not facade or other items. And then the last bullet is how the county must spend the 45% that they're saving on roads in the city limits. And so they specifically in that agreement talked about that included maintenance, construction, reconstruction, lighting, or enhancing intersections. This tells you a little bit about how we've grown, with the revenues. You can see there was a massive jump from our base year, which is what you expect to see. And then, some of what we talk about is, development and more redevelopment will continue in the next 5 years. As you all know, we're approaching, build out, so we're going to continue to see redevelopment. And then the third bullet is that the CRA currently has a sizable fund balance of $1.49 million. And, that's between the fund balance and the new tax increment from last year. And the last bullet is that there's no new CRA-funded projects this year in the CRA, but now the city has sufficient funds to start planning infrastructure improvements. All right, the flip side, the expenditures. We do have $300,000 total in liabilities, and in the past year, the past annual expenses for operating the CRA are $4,295. This is also an item that we have to tell the state about, accomplishments, and it's pretty much, what we've done in the past, so that's what this slide represents with the milestones. And, it was really more in 2016, 2018 when we installed street lighting that was, an actual feature that was sort of infrastructure related. And, 2018 was when we had the change in the interlocal agreement. So you all are familiar with the street lighting. This was a map showing a little bit of the area where that occurred. I put this slide in potential future projects. It's not in your annual report. It's just for you all to consider. It's not really an item for tonight, but remember the 95% city tax increment funding plus 50% county tax increment funding per the 2018 agreement can be used for. And again, these 4 bullets are straight out of that interlocal agreement. I wish it had more in it, but that's what it has. Retention pond, or park. So stormwater is definitely mentioned. The New Haven Avenue is something we've talked about before. Sewer projects were mentioned in 2018, and the interlocal agreement, the lighting improvements. It specifically called out Ellis Road property acquisition, road improvements, stormwater. But as a reminder, that interlocal agreement does not spell out potable water projects, other road projects other than Ellis Road, or property acquisition. This next slide is something that is in your report, and this has a little bit more than what we have in your report. There's 13 properties that we listed in that report. This has a little bit more. But again, it's just to illustrate, like my footnote at the bottom, 8 of 13 properties have continued to increase in value. 5 have gone down. Most of what I show here is what's been captured, since our base year, which was 2012. That's when we started the tax increment financing. And, it's to illustrate that it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's renovation, if it's a demolition, a rebuild, like we're going to have at the corner. Any of those things will probably yield some tax increment, especially if the property has been vacant. All right, so kind of to wrap it up, I show the map again, and then I tell you that the assessed property value in 2012, when the tax increment financing started, was, $219 million in the county, $184 in the city. Fast forward 10 years, in the county it's $386 million, in the city $326 million. So those are all healthy things that you want to see happen. And the beauty, like I said, is to capture tax increment in those areas that are colored on the map, and then be able to enhance those areas further. And that's it. So try to take any questions or.
Mr. Bentley?
Thank you, Mayor. Christy, are we going to be electing a new CRA official since Christine's going to the medical field, from what I understand?
I'm going to let this
And
answer that.
and also, the Margie Starkey is no longer the finance manager. So do we have plans to fill those slots?
Well, Candace has filled the finance director spot. So remember in the report, I have to report on what it was last year, not.
That's fine, yeah.
But yes, Candace absolutely helped me. Candace, all out for a good job, thank you. And then I'll let the attorney answer you about Christine.
Yes, we will obviously need to replace Commissioner Zonka. However, she has not formally resigned yet. So once she formally resigns, that will kick that into place.
Okay. And I have a few other questions. One is, I thought this primarily was to address the Wickham 192 corridor, and is that true originally?
CRA?
Yeah,
No, it was all three. It's always been all three.
it was, all right, so Wickham,
New Haven, and actually, there was a lot of blight that we documented on New Haven.
okay, so I agree, that's 192, right?
Right.
Wickham, but now I hear you talking more about, I heard you discussing Ellis Road.
Yeah, that was in the interlocal agreement. So the county specifically called that out, and they specified what items we would donate towards. Like I said, I was not part of that negotiation, but that's in there. So when I say.
So that's part of our
That's-
area that we're allowed to work in now? Because it
we
wasn't
always have
originally.
been. We always have been. That's what this map
Okay.
shows.
I didn't know Ellis Road was included.
It's always been there, and you've been on council, I think, since the
Yeah,
beginning.
so I missed it. That's okay.
I know Mr. Morgan pointed that out in past years because the discussion in 2018, when Morris and Scott brought the interlocal agreement, was about the Ellis Road property acquisition, road improvements, stormwater, all that is spelled out in that agreement.
And I thought it said, it says, the 2018 interlocal agreement does not allow us the infrastructure on property acquisition. But I thought you said we were going to do property, you did, on Ellis Road, property.
That's the way it's written. Yes, it's to me, it's wonky that it's okay to do that on Ellis Road, according to the county, but it wasn't okay for the rest of the corridor
So we are allowed to buy property.
on Ellis Road, but that's it.
Oh,
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Exactly.
I still had other question. Oh, when are we paying back the loan? And why don't we pay it back? There's money there to do it. But, I mean, why are we waiting? Not that we need the money, but it's,
Yeah, so we're
Money's there.
currently holding some debt in the CRA district. We have looked at some options, and Candace and I will continue to discuss some potential as we come into budget season of taking a look at that debt. There are some mitigating factors as to why we're not paying off
Okay.
that debt. So we'll bring that forward during budget
that's
time.
no problem, as long as there's a reason. I'm sure there is.
And Councilmember Bentley, can I point
Absolutely.
something out that in 2018, when Morris and Scott did bring the agreement to you all, remember that was sort of the heyday of when the county wanted the CRAs all across the county to be shut down.
Right. No, I
So
understand.
the main thing that you all focused on was not sort of the little nitty-gritty like I pointed out, but on that notion that there would be 45%, that the
Yeah.
county didn't put into the CRA would be spent on roads in the city, and that seemed to be what most of the discussion
Yeah,
was.
well, I think that agreement kept this program alive, right?
It did.
The agreement between the city and the county, because they wanted it
It
all.
did, but it is limiting.
Yeah. Investment. That's all, wait a minute, seems. And I know you don't have anything to do with this, but I just thought it was wonky is the word that I think you used. On the one that shows I'm looking at CRA 5-22, page 20. And I get we don't generate these numbers, but it just looked to me like Arby's value of 2022 was way out of line. I mean, everything else has gone up pretty much, and that one went down 200,000 or so.
I'll take a look. I'll double-check that. All I did was what anyone else could do of go to the property
Yeah,
appraiser.
yeah, I know. It just didn't seem to make sense. I don't think home values or values have gone down $250,000 in that time frame, 20% or so. Thank you, Mayor.
thank you, Mr. Frampus.
Thank you, Mayor. I also questioned repaying the debt now that the money's there. I really think that allowing the non-interest loan going there when we could recoup that money and invest it in our own funds and gain interest for the city. I think we haven't had a project since 2018, correct?
That's right.
So just to have it sit there, and I'd rather have it sit in our account than in an account that we're not, can't spend it on what we want to spend it on. So, yeah, I'm glad you're looking into that, and you'll bring it back to us. And I guess it is a board vote, correct? Whether we repay it early or not, right?
Yes, that would be.
So it would be our decision.
That's right.
Okay.
Once you have all the information, it would be the council's decision.
Yeah,
Board.
he'll give it to you later.
I'm sorry, the board, not the council. Not to be mistaken, that looks similar to the council, but not completely.
My other question is, this Veterans Complex and Jan Gleason Park, and stuff, that's part of the area, right? I mean, so if we wanted to improve lighting in this area, we could,
This is
isn't it on the map?
not on Minton.
No, it's excluded. I'll try to point it out.
'Cause
that
I tried
This
to-
area here is
I
excluded.
thought it was the yellow area right next to Henry.
Should be next to Henry.
It's that big yellow area right next to Henry, correct?
Actually, you're right then.
So
It is part of it. And I
So
think that was some of the thought, was that if we
it
need-
seems to me that if we wanted to improve lighting that would help our community, we could improve something here as well.
well,
Something to look at. I don't know if
It's
if we need to
something-
come up with a project. I'd like to look at it there.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
If that's true, if this area is in that, I would think we ought to do it and do it quickly. As far as paying off the loan, while normally I think 100% of us would jump into that. However, the county's controlling this money. We don't they control this money. That's the reality. They have the money. We have to ask them to spend the money.
not exactly, Mayor, but there are some reasons, and I think that's
Right.
why the city
And,
manager had.
you know, if the county had their way, don't want to speak for the county, but I'm sure they'd like to take all this money and buy land on Ellis Road for their project. So that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, they're just as politely as I can say it, there needs to be a purpose
Yeah.
to the board and what it's doing. And it's okay if there's a few years where there's not infrastructure projects, but we really do need to get some more projects going again. And it touches a little bit on what the chair, not the mayor, but the chair is talking about. But I think that's where one-on-one, I think Mr. Rohde can apprise you a little better of some of the items that you need to know about.
Yes, I'd like to see y'all bring back some things how we can improve this area around City Hall and as we represent the CRA district. Ms. Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess if it's not Mr. Mayor. My question is regards to the projects that we will have coming in the future. If our last set of projects we haven't had projects since 2018, are we expecting the city manager to bring the board potential projects and then we can discuss? Would you like ideas looking at all three of those main CRA areas? Are those things that we as a board need to generate those ideas and then discuss and then make that decision? Or is that something we're expecting staff and the city manager to bring?
I think the city manager should bring that only because it's kind of like any other infrastructure project that, you know, that's really what he does on a day-to-day basis. He's more aware of construction cost and whatnot. So I think that would be a good way to go.
Yeah, I think the number looks impressive, 1.4, and I'll take 1.4 million if anybody would like to write a check. But just like our sewer utility, some of the projects that have been discussed in the past, 1.4 doesn't go very far. And so obviously in the last couple of years, the strategy was to let the kitty get a little bit bigger so that if we do have some projects, we are able to do something. One of the popular items that has been discussed at the council and at the staff level for why we were building up the pot of money was because stormwater is such a challenge on 192, if the right kind of grade A prize development comes along, one of the things that we might be able to do is purchase land and use it for storm water so that the development could happen if it's challenged with space, because that is one of the issues on 182. So while 1.4 is a nice, call it 1.5 is a nice pot of money to work with for a big, big quality, what we would, consider grade A development, that's not going to get us there, but that could be part of the money, and then we might have to borrow the rest to do the project. And so it's that balancing act of trying to have enough in so that if the right project comes, we can jump on it, but not having too big of, we want to use, the money's there to do projects, and so we want to identify some projects, but we also want to keep certainly a bit in reserve to keep our powder dry.
Right, so are we going to have that budget and project discussion for the CRA at the same time that we have it with the regular council discussing next year's projects?
I think the next meeting's May.
Yeah, so
It would be in May.
next quarter we start the budget phase. This is more the annual report phase, so.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You mind if I jump in on his comment?
Jump in, you're good.
I thought you said that we couldn't purchase land on 192 and only on Ellis. So to purchase land, that contradicts what you just said.
Yes.
We cannot purchase it. However, we can be part of a project to help a project along.
Yes.
They didn't take everything away from us. They did limit what we could do, but we do have some development options to help.
Thank you. I just guess you chose the wrong word. You said purchase.
Well,
I just was curious.
correct. Or we could actually purchase it on Ellis and use it as stormwater for 192. So, but obviously the intent that they're looking to do is to help them with the Ellis project.
You were saying we're going to do the budget. Obviously, we start our city budget. I don't know that the two need to intersect. I mean, they're two different organizations. So we can think independently of city council up here while we're wearing this hat.
But so that you all keep this in mind, May it would be the time to decide what you want to do, because by August, which I believe is the next meeting after that, you have to adopt a budget as a CRA.
Yeah. And since we have an income stream anyway, I mean, as you showed us, we can borrow money just like the lights. Not that I like to borrow money, but this is kind of different.
Absolutely. So we'll bring some projects. If you have some projects, I mean, I think we picked up the consensus of looking at this site and what we could do light and safety wise, but we'll bring some projects forward as well at that meeting and be able to discuss them and then roll them into the meeting following that for the budget.
Can you also let us know before that meeting on Minton Road, how far are we and which side of the road that we do have control over?
I'm looking at the map, but you have to blow it up to really see which parts. I mean, the good news is the map shows exactly what parcels are in and out, but I would need a magnifying glass to tell you that answer right now.
All right. Anything else on that? Thank you. All right, time for public comment. Does anybody from the public wish to address this board? Seeing none, we'll close the public comments, and this meeting is adjourned. We'll start the regular city council meeting at 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the West Melbourne City Council meeting to order. It's March 7th, 2023. If you'd stand for the pledge, a moment of silence, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Roll call, City Council, please.
Mayor Rose,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Frampus, Councilmember Bentley,
Here.
Councilmember Young, here. Councilmember Ditmore, Councilmember McDowell,
Here.
Councilmember Adams.
Here.
All right. Tonight, we have a presentation and introduction to new employees. So our first order of business tonight is a proclamation for Irish American Heritage Month. I'll join you up here.
Oh, green.
But do you have the green here?
Come on, green's green.
Every year I have the honor of honoring y'all, and so let me present this to you. And then you can tell us about what y'all are doing for this month. Proclamation from the City of West Melbourne. Whereas by 1776, nearly 300,000 Irish nationalists had immigrated to American colonies and played a critical role in American war for independence. And whereas 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence were of Irish descent, and 3 signers were Irish born. Whereas 22 presidents have proudly proclaimed their Irish American heritage. Whereas the Irish first came to Spanish La Florida in the 1500s, first as missionaries and mercenary soldiers, and then as planters, traders, businessmen, doctors, and administrators. Whereas 3 of the Spanish governors of La Florida were actually Irish military officers. And whereas Irish Floridians can look back with pride on the legacy of their Irish forebears, who have contributed significantly to American education, business, sports, literature, science, engineering, medicine, science, and the arts. And whereas Irish Americans continue to provide leadership in this nation's political, business, and religious establishments. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the mayor and the city council of the city of West Melbourne, Brevard County, Florida, hereby proclaim the month of March 2023 as Irish American Heritage Month, and call upon all citizens to celebrate the heritage and the contributions of Irish Americans to the success of this great nation. With my hand in the seal of the city, the 7th day of March, Hal J. Rose, Mayor. Thank you. All right. What you have going on here this month.
First off, thank you very much, Mayor Rose, City of West Melbourne Council. Appreciate everything that you do, not only for the city, however, also to celebrate the Irish Americans that live within your boundary and the boundaries of Brevard County. My name is Scott Jurgensen. I am the local treasurer of the Ancient Order of Hibernians, Division 2 for Brevard County. It's a national organization. We just have a local division here. What we focus on is trying to let everybody know about Irish American history, celebrate that. We'll be participating in the hosting, actually, the Melbourne parade here coming up for St. Patrick's Day on Saturday the 18th. We'd love to see everyone come out. If you'd like to get a spot in the parade, give me a call. We'll get you in there, no problem at all. I think that's where we're at. Thank you very much again. Appreciate your time.
All right. Chief Vesta, do you want to introduce your new employees?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Joined tonight by Caleb Martin and Josue Martinez, two of our newest officers with the West Melbourne PD. So Caleb, he joins us from Trustville, Alabama. He has an associate's degree in law enforcement from Jefferson State Community College. And prior to joining our agency, he was a volunteer firefighter for a period of time, and also he did an internship with a police department in Alabama. He also served as an official in football and baseball games for middle and high school students. So we're pleased to have him with us. Standing next to him is Josue Martinez. Josue is from Fort Pierce, Florida. He has an associate's degree in criminal justice from El Paso Community College. And he also served 4 years for our country in the U.S. Army and came to us, finished up in Texas before coming back to West Melbourne. So in July of 2022, they started the Eastern Florida Police Training Police Academy. They completed that in December of 2022. They went into the 3-week in-house orientation program, and since then they've been in our FTEP program. Barring any, everything's going well with them, and we're hoping that they will be on their own by mid-April here, so they're getting close to the end of it. So we are so pleased to have them join our agency, and I'm going to turn it over to them for just a couple words of what brings them to West Melbourne. So, Caleb?
Well, I'm Caleb Martin, and originally from Alabama.
All tied.
Choice to move down wherever I want. At 23, I got kind of the choice, and decided to come down to Florida. And while I was in the academy process, West Melbourne reached out to me and offered me a job, and I was content with that since they were helping me through the academy, and have enjoyed every single day coming to work.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, mayor. So I'm from originally a little down south from here. I did some time in the Army, as Chief mentioned. It's been nothing short of a pleasure working for the city of West Melbourne. Like I mentioned to Chief when I first came in, I hope I can serve as an asset, be more so of an asset than a liability, as we all are aware of the culture in the current, times that we're living in with law enforcement. So there is a growing population of Brazilian nationals, Portuguese speakers. I do speak Spanish and Portuguese. So, hopefully I can lighten the load up from the SO and all the other guys that had to come down here before. Just looking to be another team player and grow with West Melbourne. Just very happy and grateful to be here. Grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
All right. Welcome aboard. All right. Next we have Assistant City Manager Bradford. Introduce your new employee.
Ooh. Wow. 3 of them.
Trifecta.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of council. Mr. Beaupre is out of the office at the moment, so it's my pleasure to introduce several of our Parks and Rec team members. Peter Corbley. Peter Corbley started in May. He's a Field of Dreams part-time custodian, and he's from the area, and he's worked for several municipal organizations, Palm Bay, Melbourne Tillman, Brevard School Board, so he comes to us with good experience. And then we have Hunter Howard. So he's a recreation worker at the community park. He started in November. He's from New York. He's been a great part of the team out at the community park, so we're glad to see him here with us. And then RJ, who is a part-time recreation worker here at the VMC. He also works part-time at the Harmony Golf Course, Harmony Golf Preserve. And he also has some interest in possibly law enforcement. So there's possibility we occasionally have openings at the police department. So we'll see if he hangs around with recreation or if he's looking toward the police department. But glad to have all of them on board. I'll let them say a few words about themselves.
All right. Oh, no, I insist.
Afternoon, council members, mayor. Just wanted to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to work for the city. Very grateful for coming to New York and down here. A little too hot, but
Yeah.
but once again, I really don't have much to say, but thank you guys very much. And
All right, welcome aboard. All right.
Good afternoon, council members, mayor. Unlike Hunter, I like the warm weather, and I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully some opportunities open in the police department.
All right.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mayor, Assistant Mayor. I've lived here since I was 5 years old, so I grew up in Melbourne. But I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come and work for you guys and provide my service. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Oh. Go ahead, Mark. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor. Good
Good evening.
members. I'd like to introduce you to Carmen Ritter.
Carmen.
Been with us for about 2 weeks now.
All right.
And we hired him on the public works side, streets and drainage, as a maintenance worker. And so far, all I've been hearing is good things about him. So we're happy he's here. He may look familiar to some of you. He did come from Cumberland Farms across the street. So we're hoping he makes a career with us.
All right.
I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity. I'm really enjoying the job so far. I plan to stay with it for years to come.
All right. Welcome aboard, Carmen. All right. I think that's all the new inductees for today. We'll continue. Next, we have the public forum where speakers are allocated 3 minutes to address City Council. Do we have any speaker cards? All right. I'm sorry? Yes. Does Promise want to say any words as they're walking up? That must be Mr. Ray. Hi, Ray.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for taking the time to allow us to be here tonight. On behalf of the Space Coast Self Advocates Group, we would like to present you guys with this picture, thanking you for your support and for putting in the audio crosswalk on the corner of Norfolk and Minton.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. 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 Does everybody want to go down and get a picture? Sure. So tell us a little bit more about the project, if anybody wants to, or Diana, or somebody, or.
Chair?
Okay.
Nice to see you guys. Thank you for coming out. So the audio crosswalk came about because I had met with the self-advocacy group over at Promise and asked them what are ways that West Melbourne can better support them as a community, and I wanted to see them get involved. So we created a list together of just different things that they felt would be more beneficial to everybody in our community, and then I brought those projects to Mr. Rohde, and we tried to talk about what could be done this year, what could be slotted for a potential future year in the budgets. And so one of the audio crosswalks was one of those potential projects. We were able to have discussions with the county, and Mr. Rohde, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the county had said as long as we bought the crosswalk, the audio crosswalk piece, that the county would then install it, correct? Or did I have that flipped?
Director of Public Works Picarillo had so much extra money in his budget that he, out of the goodness of his heart, made the $5,000 purchase. So the county said they could put it in their 5-year plan, and in about 7 years they could do it, or if we purchased it, they would install it. And so we made that acquisition, and they installed it last week.
So we're glad that it's finally in. A lot of the Promise residents were excited to see it come in, and we're excited for them and their new self-advocacy group to kind of see what else is next for West Melbourne and the greater Brevard County area.
So let's go down there and get a picture, and we'll put it in our publication.
I'm coming.
All right.
That was very nice of you. Does it?
All right, next up, we have the consent agenda. Do we have a motion? Mr. Ditmore?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to pass the consent agenda as presented.
Ms. Young? All those in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And our action item tonight is naming private driveways for Integra Heritage Apartments. Ms. Adams?
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2023-04, officially naming the private internal driveways of Integra Heritage Apartments.
Deputy Mayor?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That concludes the regular part of the agenda. Now we have City Council reports. Up first is Council Member Pat Bentley.
Turn my microphone on. 1 minute limit. I'll be done faster than that. You time me. Just want to mention I did attend the Space Coast League of Cities, both the board meeting and the session that they have after that. So we are part of their board, so we attend that on a monthly basis. Attended the Palm Bay Chamber of Commerce at Promise within the last couple of weeks. We also went to the Melbourne Chamber of Commerce session. And lastly, because I'm coming close to my minute maybe, I want to encourage people to fill out and do the Mayor's Fitness Challenge. I've been filling out for myself and Debbie, so we're in last place of all the cities around. So
no, correction. Oh. We're in 12th place. There's like 30-something teams. We cut it off at 12. We didn't want to brag too much, but yeah.
The chart that I saw, we were at the end of the chart.
Yeah, well, you have to turn the page.
Anyway, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Young.
Thank you, Mayor. If you look at your stations, you'll see that you all received the year-end reports from the TPO, so there's no need for me to drone on about that. My TDC meeting is tomorrow, so again, no need for me to drone on about that. If anyone was on the legislative call Monday, anybody was on the legislative call? Okay, then some of you know. If not, there was an email that came out from Mary Edenfield in your emails. Please look at that carefully. It has the bills and things that are very meaningful to this city. I have a copy of some of them. I serve on this board. It wasn't my idea. Don't blame me. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McDowell.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and take an extra couple minutes then tonight since you guys moved right on through that. Thank you, Mr. Ditmore. Welcome, everyone. On the educational front, I attended actually 3 different educational meetings, one held by the NAACP in the South Brevard, one it was the Children's Home Society, which I'm the ambassador, and then an early Learning Development Coalition meeting. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of tension on the educational side and the need to get parental engagement. I can't say that enough. We need to all emphasize that there's parental involvement and there's parental engagement. And we want to get the parents to help us get our reading and our math scores up. And I also attended the Melbourne Chamber and the Palm Bay Chamber meetings, as well as the Advisory Council, along with Council Member Young. There were several events I had the honor, I use the word honor because there's 2 events that had the word honor of attending, and one was Honor America as a guest of Sandy Mickelson. Thank you very much. And the also her birthday at the motorsports, which several of you were attending, and we probably should have taken out some insurance before we attended that because of the activity of the fire. And then there was the Honor Flight luncheon I attended, which was actually today. Groundbreaking, we attended that at Spring Hill. That was a good event. And then finally, I did attend a legislative update, but a different one, included with the AFL-CIO. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Adams?
Thank you, Mayor. Along with some of those events that were mentioned, I did want to give a shout out to Promise that we had the Walk with the Mayor on Saturday, and Promise brought, I would say, about maybe 20 residents, and they were all super active. They all walked faster than I did, so there's that. But I know that they're logging their minutes and they're trying to be diligent for our city, so just a heads up, if you're not logging your activity minutes, that you can still do so. I did a ride along with Public Works, and we went to go see some of the canal areas across the city, just checking out what's going on, what are areas that we need to focus on, ask a bunch of really good questions just to get better insight on that specific area of our city. Sandy Mickelson is a treasure in our community. I'm calling her out because she's sitting in the audience, but she turned 80, and yes, I do believe that deserves a small clap for Sandy. She just continues to advocate for small business in our community, against human trafficking, and all of these other great causes that she does, and she's part of our West Melbourne community. So Sandy, I want to thank you for all the work you do. And then the final thing was the Evening of Hope for the Scott Center for Autism Treatment was actually held in West Melbourne over at the Springer Garden facility, and they've continued to just advocate for different autism treatment that is being done over by Florida Tech. So that was just a really great event. They had families there that were touched through the center that I thought was just a really, really well done here in West Melbourne. So that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Frampus.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just reiterate that went to the Palm Bay Chamber. We heard Dana Blickley speak from the Brevard County Property Appraiser's Office. She gave a really good presentation, and appreciate that. At the Melbourne Chamber, when we went over to the zoo, they gave a great presentation on the new aquarium that they're planning on building for the Space Coast area. And at the groundbreaking, Spring Hill Suites at Marriott, that was a nice event that they did over there, and we got to have the golden shovels and throw some dirt and all, and that was a fun event. So that's my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. Councilmember Ditmore.
Well, so I got the privilege to attend some of the events we talked about. I just want to add, went to CivMill. That was also last week. It was already that or go to the Honor America. So I chose to go to CivMill. Congressman Posey actually spoke there, which I thought it was a pleasure listening to him speak. And just one only thing I really bring this up is that during the during the military update that they were giving us. Just something kind of, it was a kind of a feel-good situation that for those who don't know, during these briefings, they usually tell us a little bit about what's going on in the area, but they wanted to reassure us that they do have the watch against our adversaries during this current climate, this political climate that we have abroad, and that they do have the watch, and that not to be concerned, and just to reassure us that our military is on point right now. And it made me feel pretty good listening to that. So I just wanted to share that with everyone as things as the turmoil circulates throughout the world right now, that they're keenly aware of what's going on and have everything pretty much in control.
Thank you, and I'll back clean up here. I went to all those events I think people talked about, Civ Mill, Palm Bay Chamber. As you said, our property appraiser does a great job of analyzing our county and actually producing documents that we can all understand and how to get involved with the process there. A lot of their fights are with the state. They're always advocating with the state because the state is always trying to change, as you know, right now in the legislature, they're trying to change how some of those numbers are figured. The Melbourne Chamber event, the zoo is good, Spring Hill. I did represent the city at the Home Builders Association in West Melbourne at the Atlantic Tile. The Mayor's Walk was really good. As Ms. Adams said, we had 25 Promise members there. We all walked around. A lot of community people from different cities showed up. So City Clerk did a great job on organizing that. Fresh fruits and snacks and hydration, and it was nice. We had a couple officers out there walking with us, so that was nice too. And of course, it's Sandy Mickelson Day, and representing West Melbourne, always a pleasure there. And I think that's, a couple of us went to the Parasol. They're doing a lot of stuff in Melbourne and surrounding, and Palm Bay and all around us. So we got invited to that to watch their new opening, and it's all good.
Thank you.
Yeah. But Mr. Deputy Mayor has a question.
Question for the...
Yeah. Any question for City Manager, City Attorney?
I do.
You're up.
City Manager, were the times ever adjusted on the tennis and pickleball courts from when we saw it the other day?
We had several, we formed a blue ribbon committee, and we had several meetings. The result of those meetings were we successfully fixed the timing of the lightings for the pickleball, and they now run consecutive with the signage. So it did take us 2 days to get that resolved and find the right person to do that, but that has been fixed.
Thank you. If you're going to cut that blue ribbon, please invite us all. Thank you.
Yeah. Ms. Adams?
Thank you, Mayor. In terms of the lighting, especially that's out here near the VMC and the tennis and pickleball courts, will that be automatically adjusted with the time change that's coming soon?
I have full confidence in our Park and Rec Department that daylight savings will not defeat us this year.
And speaking of that, that is this weekend. Adjust your sprinkler systems and your lights, because it's changing this weekend. Mr. McDowell?
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have a workshop on Saturday?
Come one, come all. Saturday from 9 to noon.
Does it have to go all the way to noon? Or you have that much new material?
Saturday in this room, we will have a city council workshop, special meeting to discuss the fire study and fire alternatives analysis that was performed.
Oh.
There's no lunch provided.
I assume you have new information. Mr. McDowell? See, we could have got it earlier. All right, seeing none, that's all the agenda. This meeting is adjourned.